on so far? We have James the astrophotographer, Mike Wiesner, Book Davies, Cameron Gillis, all the guys that were on with us with the Global Star Party last night. Beatrice Hines, her too. Pekka says hello to you, Catherine. James the astrophotographer says, hey there, Book, Cameron. We were on the 40th Global Star Party, lasted 6 hours. It's pretty long.
Very.
And James says, I'm so lame, I fell asleep last night.
That's okay, James. I'm sure I was asleep before you.
Oh, man.
But I had to teach at 9 a.m.
You had to teach. Let's see. Here we are.
So, Scott, where did you get this awesome image?
Of this hypnotic thing. Usually I just have customers like stare at it and then they give me their credit card number. It's a subliminal thing.
Oh, that's why I'm thinking about telescopes today.
Yeah, that's how it works.
Sounds like my grandmother's lawnmower.
That's just going to be totally cool.
Have you guys seen the stereo images?
Not yet.
They took some images with the mass camera of Ingenuity, and they're really cool.
Well, hello everybody. This is Scott Roberts with the Explorer Alliance presents FirstLight Chronicles. This is the 31st program. We are Kent and I are a little punch drunk because of being up all night, but it was fun. The program lasted. Global Star Party number 40 lasted about 6 hours, and it was just great, you know. So. But our special guest today is Dr. Katherine Auld. She is with NWA.Space, and NWA.Space is an organization that plans to build a multi-million-dollar science center with a, first-rate planetarium and an amazing observatory that's going to house a historic 24-inch refractor that was saved from Swarthmore College in where in Pennsylvania? Swarthmore, Pennsylvania.
Swarthmore, Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania.
Yeah, Pennsylvania. So Explore Scientific helped pay to bring it out. It was brought on 2 huge flatbed trucks. This telescope is, well, you can tell, Catherine, how big is the scope? And
well,
I mean, the story is how you got it anyway. So
it's 36 feet long.
Yeah.
So it had to come in 2 sections, and then the mount is as an extra piece. It's huge. They drove in, and I already knew it's 36 feet long, but the trucks drove in, and it was like, wow, that is just enormous.
Yeah.
So it was
50,000 pounds of enormous.
Yes.
Now,
And the tower that it stands on is 28 feet tall, and then it's mounted on the head. It's huge.
And it's over 100 years old, right?
Yes.
Amazing. So tell the audience, why don't you tell the audience more about yourself and how you came to develop this organization to the point of where it is and what you hope to do.
So I teach astronomy at the local community college. Worked on a planetarium in my graduate program. And then when I started teaching at the community college, I said to myself, we need a planetarium here. We take the students, or at least pre-COVID, we would take the students and go on a field trip to a planetarium once a semester. And once a semester just isn't enough. I mean, planetariums are awesome. So I started talking about how we should have a planetarium here locally. I walked around for 3.5 years saying, somebody should build a planetarium. And then somebody said to me, you care about this more than everyone else, so you're going to have to do it. And I thought to myself, I can do, okay, cool, let's do that. So one of the other, at that time, astronomy instructors at NWAC introduced me to Scott. And I told him, this is what I think we should do. And he was like, sure, somebody should do that. You should do that. Let's get on it. And it just kind of grew from there. So for several years, we talked about building a planetarium. And then the dream kind of grew to, planetarium, and maybe let's do some other sciences as well. And then we, got an email from a group that I didn't know from anyone, saying, well, there's this college and they have an historic telescope, and they want to, renovate the building, and does anyone want this telescope? Well, sure. And one of our board members reached out to the people at the college and said, yes, we're interested. How big is this telescope? And that was when it was like, oh, it's 36 feet long. It's 2 feet in diameter. The whole way, they had no idea how much it weighed. So we kind of had to figure that out as we went along. But we were still interested. I mean, hey, big telescope is even cooler than small telescope, right? And an old telescope is especially fascinating.
Right.
And so we just started figuring this out. Talked to Scott, and Scott hooked us up with Airways Freight. And those two organizations covered having the piece shipped. And I'm skipping some parts on the story. We told Swarthmore that we were probably not going to be able to afford to do this. And they said, don't let money, be the reason that you don't at least apply, because it was a proposal. We had to submit a proposal saying, this is what we want to do with the telescope. And, this is our dream. And we did that. And so then Susan called me one day and said, well, the paperwork won't be done until tomorrow, but I wanted to tell you that you guys are going to get the telescope because you want to use it, not set it up as a museum piece. And so then I had to learn how to breathe. And then I realized that we had to figure out how to raise like $50 million as a conservative estimate in order to build this building to put it in. So here we are, still working on the dream.
Right. Earlier, I had Ian McLennan and Bill Peters on our program. We did a special program just about those two guys because they've done so many planetarium installations and science centers and World Fair installations and that kind of thing. And they are now, I guess, officially consulting with NWA.Space. So you've got professional people involved with this. You certainly, it seems like, have a lot of local support in Northwest Arkansas. Why do you think that is, Katherine? I mean, we don't have great skies here in Northwest Arkansas. What is the need to have a science center like this in this area?
Science is fun. I mean, that's the need. Science is fun. We want to support the education system, but that's not really the need. The need is science is fun, and people love to have fun. So you go and look at the night sky, and that's, astounding, amazing. But we can just as easily talk about the relationship between, bugs and butterflies and flowers, and how that all developed, and why it is that tomato plants are pollinated by bumblebees changing the vibration of their wings as they land. I mean, that's just weird and cool. And so science is fun.
So let me share my screen a little bit, and I'll show what we are looking at as far as
Are you getting the video?
yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see.
So while you're doing that, but science, astronomy is like a gateway science. It's the original science, if you will. But and I like to say this, and this makes Katherine feel good because she's a geologist. It is rocket science. Here, I'll quit talking while So we've just gone into the observatory, and this is a scale model of the telescope.
So our architects that we've been working with came out and took detailed measurements of the telescope with Kent.
Mm-hmm. So it just flew out the dome, and you notice there's another dome. We'll see that here in a second for a solar telescope.
And by the way, we keep saying, locally and that kind of thing, but we are talking about Northwest Arkansas.
We're talking about a 4-state area, really. Arkansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, and Kansas, and there's nothing really within a 2 to 4 hour drive of us.
Yes.
Of any kind of science, engineering center. And this is really about engineering because, it takes, it is rocket science. It is rocket science to get us to Mars. But once you get to Mars, the people doing the heavy lifting are the geologists, the biologists, and the meteorologists. And so it's about all the sciences, really. It's not just about astronomy. It's not just about, biology. It's everything. It's coding. It all leads. So now we've gone into the solar dome, and now we're going down
through the building
because the building is part of the solar telescope. And now we've gotten to the bottom of the solar telescope, and we're looking backwards as we walk down the hallway. It reflects off a mirror behind us and then projects about a 2-foot image of the sun on the wall. So I think that's it. So what's cool is, if you notice closely when you were looking at the observatory has glass walls. On half of it, the outside half of it is a glass wall. And so it's going to look out over this pretty pastoral view, or whatever ends up,
whatever's there,
but we'll be able to have it open, and people will be able to see it out of it during the day. And at night we'll be able to close the curtains and have a, relatively dark, although, there are some Bortle 2 skies available within, a couple hour drive, and people are like, why don't you put it out in the National Forest or at the state park or out, in the very far west corner? And we're like, yeah, that's would be the great place for it if this was about observing. But this isn't about observing. This is about attracting people conveniently to learn science. And, the big telescope is simply just a big attraction device, effectively. It's going to be great on the planets. Light pollution doesn't care about, it won't care. It's not a deep sky object telescope, although we probably are going to look at some. But, that's what this is about. And I'm on the board of directors. Katherine asked me, and I stupidly said yes. No, I was excited.
Okay, I was about to say, I asked for about a year before you said yes.
Yeah, I had to, it's just I finally caught the vision, and it's just about finding ways to inspire kids to have fun. And Katherine, talk about what happens when we go down on a city square and start doing our demonstrations.
So we go down and set up telescopes and just start saying, hey, do you want to look at the moon, Jupiter, Saturn, whatever is in the telescope? And it's amazing the number of people who, first of all, have never looked through a telescope. And then when they do, oh, wow, and gosh, and oh my. And I can't even tell you the number of times that I have watched somebody look in the telescope and then go sit down for a minute and get all teary-eyed and just sit there quietly for a few minutes thinking about, the universe and life and the whole thing. And then they come back and look again. And then they come back and look again. And it's so much fun.
Well, and we'll be on the square, during the city festivals, and doing our shtick of showing how a copper pipe isn't magnetic, but it conducts electricity and produces electricity, and we do generation, and we do molecules, and we do Fibonacci sequence, and just all sorts of stuff. And kids will just stay there, and their parents will want to go look at,
and stare.
and just stare and just talk and engage and be excited. And the parents will leave. And they'll come back and say, come on, Jane, let's go. And Jane and her brother Bobby are like, no, we want to stay here. And they'll watch it through 2 or 3 cycles of stuff. And the parents have really asked Katherine and I, because we're generally there working the crowd a little bit. And I actually had a woman, I wish I would have captured her name. She said, my son has only, and he was there for like 2 hours, said, my son has only done 2 things longer than he stood here watching this: play video games and sleep.
Well,
why?
yeah.
And I said, because it's fun. He says he hates school. I said, right.
Well,
this
it's
isn't
not
school.
only fun, it's engaging.
This is about fun. This is about engaging them in a way that they don't get. And really, schools, and that's not a criticism of schools, because schools are not set up necessarily for that exploration. They have to stay to the standards. They have to teach to what they have to teach to, and they can't go off on crazy tangents. This allows them the ability to just, and we get pretty silly and goofy and make silly comments and stuff, and ask questions and make them make predictions and hypotheses. And we don't tell them they're learning the scientific method, but that's what we're teaching them.
And when they go off and give a wrong answer, we follow it until they are the ones who go, oh, that didn't work. Let's go back.
Yeah. Right. Let them discover that it didn't work. We lead them to the answer, but yeah. One thing Masterson has this,
and Dustin Masters, he's on the board.
Yes. He's a board member, has a soda bottle with an eyedropper in it. And he goes through this big shtick about he's magic, and he can make this thing sync with his mind, and he goes through this big whole shtick and distraction with his hands, and he finally gets a hold of it, and he does this thing, and I'll say, y'all need to focus hard, look at it, stare at it, help him make that eyedropper go down. And he just starts squeezing it with his left hand, but that thing drops. And he's like, oh, that was exhausting. And some kids are just sitting there going.
And some of them are going, no, that's not how it works.
Yeah, that's not magic. And so it's like, fine, you do it then. And they'll get a hold of it. And 2 or 3 kids sometimes will try and it won't happen. Finally, one kid will squeeze it and he goes, doop. And then Dustin goes, I've been discovered as a fraud, and the parents all laugh, and it's awesome. We have a great time. I really miss doing that stuff.
I do too. I can't wait for it to start again.
Star parties and NWA.Space events in the community are 2 things I miss because of it. Yep, for sure.
Yep. And we will be it.
You haven't stopped. I mean, you've been continuing to work on this program. What's it been like, Katherine, trying to get things accomplished during this pandemic?
Awful. It's been awful because, so much of what we do is outreach in front of people. And so we haven't been able to do that. We did a virtual fundraiser, and that was kind of a lot of fun. And we've done a couple of webinars, but the inability to just go somewhere and stand on a street corner and talk about science has been frustrating. Right. But in that time, we've also done a lot of work with Ian and Bill that you were just mentioning. We received the preliminary report on the location just last week. So we went I left the city of Lowell today and came home in order to be here with you guys because we had questions to ask the city so that we could give Ian and Bill even more information.
So it did give us some breathing room. And, she talks about Lowell. Lowell is a city.
Let's talk about that. Why is Lowell important in this whole equation?
Well, Lowell's not important.
Lowell Observatory, right?
Well, first off, we were joking that because we have a site that's been offered to us in Lowell, we should call it the Flagstaff Observatory at Lowell. as opposed to the
Lowell, Arkansas, correct?
right, as
Yes.
opposed to the
Lowell,
Lowell.
Arkansas.
Yeah, you guys remember that we're
Yeah,
broadcasting to an international
yeah.
community here.
As opposed to the Lowell Observatory at Flagstaff. We're going to call it the Flagstaff Observatory at Lowell. We're just joking. We're not going to, but it's fun to ponder the confusion that would cause.
But our region, we do not live in a city where there's a city center and suburbs all around. We live in a string of small towns that run up 65 miles of I-49.
Yeah, 50
and
miles.
So Lowell is the small town right in the middle. So as far as regional availability and ease of access, it's an ideal site. Plus, it is, sort of to the west of where the city centers are. So we're going to have sort of dark skies and plenty of space. So there's all these things that are just great about the Lowell facility. The main one being that it is convenient for everyone. As Kent was saying, we don't want to be 65 miles out in the International Dark Sky Park because that's not where it's convenient to get people.
No, that's not where the people are.
So I'm sharing my screen. I'm
be
sharing
where
my
the
screen.
people are.
Yep.
So there's my screen, Scott. So here's a image of MapQuest. Sorry about the ads, but move this over. So the metropolitan statistical area stretches like this, okay? And from here up to here, there's about 600,000, 700,000 people. And so University of Arkansas is here, Springdale's here, Rogers is here, Bentonville is right here. So unlike most cities, we move over here to Tulsa. Tulsa's here, and all these towns grow up around it. We can go down to OKC, Oklahoma City, and all these towns grow up around the city. And in Northwest Arkansas, if I can find this for Gibson, in Northwest Arkansas, Fayetteville was the big city, but it's on the start of a plateau, and this is all rough mountains and really not really developable for a big urban area. And so along the highway that ran through, all these other cities grew up in a very linear fashion. So we don't have a central city like most other people, like, Philadelphia, it has cities grown up all the way around it. All these other towns do. But if you zoom into right here is where Lowell is. And so Lowell is literally right in the big middle of half the population up here, half the population down here. It's a great location for it, we think. Now, I haven't seen the study yet. I don't know what the study preliminary shows. I'm going to suppose it probably shows that our site might be pretty good after all, but I don't know that.
We need a road, and then our site will be pretty good after all.
Yeah. So, which is only $700,000, give or take a few pennies. Yeah. So anyway.
Well, okay. So for people that are watching this program, how could they help? How could they get involved?
Well, always donations, and go to our website for that, which is NWA.Space. But not more than that, equal to that, we are looking for people, and used to be it was local people. Now we're not even confined by that anymore. We're looking for people to volunteer. People who have a passion for a particular branch of science and are willing to do outreach and demonstrations and show how you can start with a copper pipe and a magnet, and 5 minutes later you're generating electricity because you've explained all of those links in between, or whatever it is. For me, when I'm the center stage on the NWA.Space stuff, usually I have a whole slew of rocks and minerals and fossils sitting out, and I let the kids pick them up and touch them and put magnets to them. And well, I don't let them drop acid on them, but I talk about it.
Wait a minute, you would let kids drop acid?
No, I don't let them put acid on the rock.
Oh, put acid, not drop acid, put acid. Okay.
Well, it's called drop acid, but you put acid on the surface of the rock and certain minerals bubble.
Like calcium carbonate.
Yes.
Limestone.
Limestone, marble. So if you have a sample of marble and quartzite that are sometimes very visually similar, you can tell the difference because the marble will fizz and the quartzite will not. So it's one of the things that you do to figure out, what is this rock?
But, we're looking for people. They don't have to be here to give demonstrations. They can do a weekly video blog, a vlog, or write a blog once a week or once a month. We're just trying to find people to build up content who are knowledgeable in their field. We won't say experts, but knowledgeable in their field, and talk about, whatever it is they're good at talking about. And we're not good about asking for money. That's the hard part. Some people have a gift for asking for money.
No,
I'm not it, but I'm getting, although I will tell people to call. Look,
I'll do it. Hey guys, they need money.
There we go.
They have this amazing telescope. It's a 1909 24-inch Brashear Refractor. If there's someone out there that is really interested in a beautiful antique telescope that could be brought back to life, to be involved in a very powerful science program, science center that would serve multiple states in our region, because we're right in the corner between Missouri, Oklahoma. Texas is not so far away.
Kansas
is not so far away. And to be involved, either working for, supporting the program, a lot of the pieces are there. A lot of the interest is there. They have, as I mentioned, professional support to really pull it off in a sustainable science education program that would be here for the next century. You want to get involved and make any kind of contribution from $10 up to sky's the limit, of course. So
somebody's good with a website,
Right.
I mean, there's skills. Everybody knows the skills we need.
Right. Yes. I mean, we need all the skills. We need the treasurer and the marketing and, the videographer. We need all of those skills. Actually, we do have a videographer who's pretty awesome. But we could use more because it's going to take all of us in order to get this thing built.
Science is fun. Science is not boring. Science is fun. That's what this is all about. It's about making science joyful.
Fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a suggestion here from Martin Eastburn to set up a FundMe page and have it publicized. Is that something that NWA.Space has on the horizon or is doing right now?
Not on the horizon, but I did just write it down. We have a website, and on the website you can make donations. You can also join as a sustaining or a member at levels that start at $35 and go up. So that's a good way for us to be able to reach back out to you and say, so now you've become a member, which science is it that you are really interested in? Because we're interested in finding out which one. We know what we love. I love rocks and stars. I mean, let's just be honest. But other people have other interests, and they're all connected. That's one of the great things about astronomy and geology. They're so interconnected. You can't pull on this string without unraveling all these other things that are connected to it.
Very true. Book Davies wants to know, is the $60 membership for a year?
Yes.
Okay.
Although you could do it monthly if you wanted to, Book. No. Yes, those are annual membership rates. We tried to make them affordable because a very broad grassroots foundation is what builds bigger donations. You know, showing that we have wide national, global, local support helps people who can be funders feel good and understand that we have a huge base of support.
That we have a draw that's going to be more than 2 minutes long.
Right. Science is fun.
Yeah.
We should like make a t-shirt. Science is fun.
NWA.Space.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we talked about putting up, there's some science behind, if you've ever played the alphabet game while you're driving down the road, we've talked about putting up billboards along the interstate saying X, Q, whatever those the letters are when you see a sign.
XQJZ. Exquisite actually is a word that gets almost all of them.
But put those letters and then thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome. NWA.Space.
You're welcome, NWA.Space. And some people won't get it, but the people who ever played the alphabet game was to occupy your kids. For those of you who don't know, as you go down the road, for hours, A in national insurance, and then B in Bob's Burgers, and you work your way through the alphabet, finding letters on the sign, and nobody else can use that sign because you use that sign. And you get stuck on certain letters, and we just give you letters throughout Northwest Arkansas. But there's science behind the reason for that too. There's all sorts of cool stuff we can do. It's just we're limited by our own creativity and the structures we build around us.
Right.
No, I think we're limited by the number of hours in a day.
Well, that too. Yep.
I definitely need for us to, slow down the Earth. That way there's more hours.
More time. I think that might cause Newton's laws, equal and opposite reaction could come into effect.
Yeah. That would mean we would also need to move the Earth further away from the sun, and that would have like catastrophic effects for plants. So apparently this problem is not going to be solved in this manner.
Yeah, just do what the kings did in the past. Just change the calendar.
Yes.
So make a 48-hour span one day. Okay.
Yeah, that would work.
Right?
That doesn't help because I still have to sleep. Ooh, there's another realm of science. Sleep. That's just totally cool.
That's right.
Okay, so I just want to know, talking about sleep. I have sleep apnea, so I get the headgear on. I want to know who the idiot was that said, that guy snores a lot and he quits breathing. So let's blow air up his nose. That'll help him sleep.
Well, does it?
Well, it does, but I mean, how did somebody figure that out? I'm fascinated by that.
Why did somebody decide that willow bark would help headaches?
Yeah, trial and error, but like I said, trial and error. Yeah, you start. Some plants kill you, some make you don't have a headache. I mean, you find out one way or the other, but yeah. So anyway, Pekka says, "Do you need a gyro gear loose kind of person?" GYRO means gyro, or it could.
Gear loose.
So is that a name of some
character? He's probably a character.
Regardless, the answer is yes.
Yes, that sounds like a fun, sort of character to build up with. Write that down. Gyro Gear Loose.
On Wikipedia, is a cartoon character created in 1952 by Carl Banks for Disney Comics.
So probably can't use gyro gear loose.
We can come up with something similar.
Some name. Yep, for sure.
Well, okay. Well, anything else that we could touch on, Katherine, before we transition here?
I can't think of anything except that join us in making this a reality. And especially if you have any of those skills that we were talking about, I would love to have a blog on the website every week or two or whatever about cool random stuff.
And Catherine, how would people get in touch with you about this if they want to participate?
My email is my name, Katherine, KATHERINE dot AULD at NWA.Space. And
Our name. Go ahead.
NWA.Space is also our website. We don't have a .com or a .org or a .any of those. Our domain is actually .space.
Our domain is our name.
Our domain is our name.
Okay.
Oh, cool. Universe Sampler.
Yes, it's time for Universe Sampler. We've been working with, we work very closely with the Astronomical League. In case you don't know it, the League has been very good about making this known. We are the official underwriter of the National Young Astronomers Award, where high school kids get involved in serious astronomical research. I'm talking about things like measuring the radial velocity of black holes, populations of globular star clusters to give an estimate of dark matter, this kind of stuff, okay? And since I've been working with the Astronomical League for maybe 2 decades or so, maybe longer than that, and certainly the entire time that that Explore Scientific has been around, we've been a supporter of that wonderful program. We also give a telescope, and we give a contribution back to the league to fund this program to make it a reality. The other program that we do is the Leslie Peltier Award, which is for lifetime achievement in astronomy, and some really amazing astronomers have been part of that. We're very, very pleased to be involved with that. And a new award that we are about to start will be the Imaging Award from the Astronomical League. The league has thousands of members and is a federation of over 300 astronomy clubs. And this last year, they made a special effort to go more international. So we have international members. Some of them have joined because of their awareness and being made aware through this program and other programs that we do. And we think that the observing programs that they have, and in particular this program that we're focused on right now, the Universe Sampler, is just an amazing signature program, a set of programs from the Astronomical League. I heard that they have something like over 50 observing programs. Is that right, Kent?
I believe that's correct. Yeah. And we talked about one early on, and I can't remember what I suggested. I'm going to go back and listen to those first couple, because there was a great idea I came up with for an observing club, and I can't for the life of me remember what it was. So I need to go back and listen, because whatever it was I thought, well, that's a pretty darn good idea. I just didn't write it down. And so if you don't write it down like Catherine does, you don't have to remember. You can get it done because you don't have to remember it.
Right.
All right. So you ready? All right. So lesson 10, La Luna, the moon. Universe Sampler is a program by the Astronomical League that's great for beginning astronomers. It's also just a great primer to read through and come up with very simple ways, especially if you're doing outreach. This is a really good tool to learn some real simple language on explaining what we do in ways that are very not technical. So you can get the book. The Universe Sampler book is $13 from the Astronomical League on their website. That's a bit.ly link I created. Scott, you want to share that? Have you written that down so you can just copy and paste it? I can't remember.
No.
Okay. Well, I'll leave it there so you can copy them real quick. And then the Observing Club, which is sort of the final culmination of going through the Universe Sampler. There's requirements to earn your way into the observing club, and it becomes the launch pad for other clubs as well. Probably binocular messiers would be the next one. I'm probably going to do something on after the next few sessions. We got something else to do. The universe sampler will run out, so I am going to probably highlight each one of the entry-level clubs for a while and go from there. Messier binoculars is an easy one to get. It just takes some time, but and dedication to go out and use your binoculars. All right, last week we did lesson 9, the art of seeing. In lessons 7 and 8, we talked about seeing, and that seeing referred to the atmospheric conditions. This seeing refers to the use of your eyeballs, as I think Mike Wiesner calls them eyeball Mark I's, the original astronomical device. And Scott and I proposed, and I may bring this up with the astronomically, to change this to the art of looking, because that's what this really is about looking. And you have to look at things to learn how to see them in detail, right? And to do that takes practice. You can't just glance at something. At star parties, I feel bad because some people want to sit there and just drink in Saturn, and you just can't let them do it. Other people walk up and look at the eyepiece and goes, "Oh, great, I've seen Saturn," and walk off. Well, you didn't really see Saturn. You saw Saturn, but you did not see Saturn. You have to learn the techniques to see more than you thought you'd ever be able to see. And there are many things that lead to seeing things well or seeing things poorly. So that's a quick recap. All right. This is the Moon by Robert Weiss. I failed to correctly rotate it exactly right, but it's pretty darn close to what we see. The Moon goes through libration. It sort of wobbles back and forth. So I'm going to go with this was when it had some libration that caused it to kick off to the west a little bit. It's very nice, very detailed image. This goes through, and I'm not going to read it, but it talks about what the Moon is, the cycles of the Moon, the phases of the Moon, when new moons occur. This is sort of interesting. While a new moon is technically, or a full moon is technically only, a few hours long, most people perceive the full moon as being full for 3 days because it looks sort of the same thing. But it doesn't talk about that in here, but I think that's a cool thing. But it talks about, what's going on, waxing and waning. So it's pretty straight up. I'm not going to read it. It does point out the moon is a part of our lives. I'm always shocked by how many people go, "I didn't know you could see the moon during the day. I only thought it came out at night." And I hear that fairly regularly. And, they don't look up. Now, a lot of the terms on the moon for the lunar features are in Latin because, Latin is when they started naming all this stuff in the Romance languages. But Maria means seas. There's lava flows, all sorts of things. Now, I didn't get an image of the Terminator. Robert Weiss was going to send me one before, but he hadn't gotten it to me. The Terminator is a line dividing the dark side of the moon from the light side of the moon as we see it. Now then, there's a whole nother discussion. People think the back side of the moon is the dark side of the moon. No, because it gets light on it just like our side does, because the moon revolves around the Earth with a 1-to-1 resonance. So the same side is always facing us. But when it's a new moon, the back side of the moon is fully lit by the sun. So that Terminator line is important because those shadows give you the sense of 3 dimension. And when you look at the moon, right, when it's full, you don't get any sense of 3 dimensions, except over on the far right-hand side of this, where you can see some shadows, and at the far bottom right, below Tycho, where you can see some shadows as well. Full moons are not really pleasurable to look at through a telescope of any size. It's blindingly bright. you know, at lunar eclipse parties, I'll take a manila envelope or a piece of cardboard and cut 3.5-inch holes in it, put it over the front of my 8-inch Schmidt-Cassegrain, so it cuts the light out, because otherwise it's like shining a really bright flashlight in your eyeball. Okay, so here's some. There was a picture in the universe sampler of the moon that is rather not good, so I went with this picture. You know, the letters in the alphabet in green is the Sea of Chrysium, the Mare Serenitatis, Mare Iberium, and Mare Humorium. Okay, see, there you go. I don't do Latin. And then the crater number 1, these are in red, is crater Aristoteles, which is Aristotle. The Apennine Mountains, which we landed a Apollo 17, wasn't it, close to those mountains? And then Copernicus crater, Grimaldian, the biggest, the most obvious one of them all, Tycho. There's all sorts of things. You can see rays. You can see in this picture, you can see lines. You can blow it up real big and see some relays, some mountains. You know, how to know where you're looking at all this stuff, just like anything else, takes a map. And this is a map I found on Amazon for like $15. You know, I don't know how big it is, but it looks like it's pretty good sized. But there's all sorts of moon maps out there. I have one that is designed to match your eyepiece when you're looking through a refractor, and the other side of it is designed to look correct when you're looking through a Schmidt-Cassegrain. So back to a previous lesson, like lesson 4 or 5, the eyepiece changes depending on the number of reflections and what all's going on, and it can be very confusing. If you're looking at a direct image, correct view of the moon, and are looking upside down and backwards, it makes you want to take a hammer and hit yourself in the head sometimes, trying to figure out which way to go. So the key to finding things, there's all sorts of versions of moon maps available. You can spend as much money as you want. There's even globes. Scott has one on his desk back there I can see right now, but not too practical to use a globe when you're out trying to observe, you know, but maps are key to finding stuff, right? And so I put this in here because, you know, it's my PowerPoint. It's not in the universe sampler, but I'm going to put this in there, but I know that flat earthers won't believe it. They'll come up with some reason why this is not true, but it's true. The moon is a sphere. So how to prove it with 3 photos. These 3 photos I'm going to show you will prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that the moon is a sphere. It's a basketball-shaped object, right? So these all craters are circled. We agree all these circles are round, right? Okay. So for those craters to be round, the only way those craters can be round and look like that is if that's going on. 3 pictures, simple proof. You know, I'm sure flat earthers come up with some other reason why this isn't right. Photo credit to Dr. Daniel Barth, who has written an awesome guide to teaching astronomy, all sorts of stuff. He's doing a program every Monday with Scott. How do you know that? Is that the name? That's right, Scott. How do you know that?
How do you know?
How do you know? And this is one of the examples he's posted about. Those quarters prove that the moon is round, because the only way those round craters can look like they look is just like these quarters look on the far right-hand side of this, I don't know, kid's ball of some sort, you know. So anyway, maybe it's a sort of orange sun ball. I don't know. But you can download that guide for free at scholarworks.uark.edu /OER/2. Boy, that's a mouthful.
You can also go to explorescientific.com/how do you know.
That might be easier. There you go.
Links
So
directly to
yeah,
those teaching aids and all the
and
rest.
and the price is right. It's free.
Free.
Thank you to the University of Arkansas, which could have charged people for it. They made it free. So anyway, I've got a quick review. The moon is clearly the biggest, brightest, easiest to find object in the sky. The moon goes through, I said 28-day, it's 29-day cycle. It changes, I'll fix that. It changes by the minute as the terminator, the line between the lit and unlit side of the moon moves. It always fascinates me to watch that terminator line as it's going from a new moon towards a full moon. To watch that terminator line for an hour or 30 minutes, because you'll see all of a sudden out there in the darkness, you'll see a little dot of white show up, and they'll get bigger around and bigger around and bigger around. And finally you realize it's the top of a mountain that's being sunlit, just like when the sun rises on a mountain, the top in the morning, and you're looking west, the top of the mountain gets the sun first because of the curvature of the earth. And then the moonlight comes down, or the sunlight comes down, lighting up the whole mountain. You can watch that happen on the moon. That sense of 3 dimensions, those shadows give you a sense of 3 dimensions. There are hundreds and hundreds of things to look at on the moon. Crater rays, mountains, valleys, lava flows, wrinkle ridge system, relays, and rills. I don't know, it's French maybe, and so much more. Being French, I grew up in Arkansas. For all of us, it was Charles Messier. At some point I recognized the fact that it was French and it was Messier. So next lesson, variable stars. Some stars change in brightness. The periods range from a few days to thousands of days. There are 4 types of variable stars, and there are hundreds of them to observe. That's next week, that's Friday on FirstLight Chronicles.
And before we close out, a rill is a narrow channel on the moon.
Like a river, sort of, or a crack.
Dry. A crack, yeah. A fissure, a channel. It's narrow and kind of deep.
So on Earth, it'd be a hollow or a ravine.
Yes. Yeah. Well, or on Mars, it's gullies.
Yeah. So, Katherine, tell them what your doctorate is in. You're a doctor of broken bones, right?
Space and planetary sciences. My emphasis is on astrogeomorphology. So I would study the change of the surface of other planets, specifically Mars.
And you're a NASA Solar System ambassador.
Yes.
And what other programs are you involved with?
Well, I'm heavily involved in Boy Scouts.
Excellent.
She has a girl Boy Scouts troop.
I have a girls.
You have a girls BSA troop. It's not Boy Scouts.
Scouts BSA.
Scouts BSA. There we go.
Scouts BSA. My daughter will earn her Eagle Scout. She started she started working on her Eagle Scout project.
She is the classic case of why Boy Scouts accepted girls, because she went with her brothers to all these events.
Yeah.
And enjoyed going hiking, enjoyed going camping, canoeing, backpacking. It's a different program than Girl Scouts. Girl Scouts don't generally, having had daughters in Girl Scouts, that, at least in my experience, was a completely different experience than Boy Scouts.
Yes.
No offense to any program,
different girls need different things, just like different boys need different things. Some are scouts, some are fishermen, some are sportsmen.
Right. And, having been an Eagle Scout, I welcome her to the fraternity.
Yep.
Although
she's going to earn the National Outdoor Award, or the National Outdoor Medal, by the time she's done, if she keeps doing what she's doing.
And what do you have to do to get that?
You have to earn the National Outdoor Award in at least 3 different areas: camping, adventure, aquatics, riding, conservation, and there's one other one.
Okay. Please tell me Bella has her astronomy merit badge.
Yes, she does. She's taught it.
Okay. And geology, I hope.
Actually, I don't think she has geology.
You should need to cure
I'm
that.
going to have to fix that. But she does have soil and water science, nature, mammal study, reptile study, forestry. She has almost all the science ones. I'm going to have to fix geology like tomorrow.
Yes.
Might take longer than that, but yeah, pretty quick.
Well, you can start
tomorrow. Exactly.
I'm curious, Katherine, how many girls have achieved Eagle Scout at this point? You know?
The inaugural class of Girl Scouts, they set a day that all of the first, it's actually over 1,000 girls that finished it.
There was no
together, and so there's no one girl who is
Right.
on first. All 1,000 of them finished on February the 18th.
Right.
And
This year.
of this year, and there
This
is
the
a
first
girl.
year to have girls who are Eagle Scouts.
Yes,
Because they had to do the time.
it is.
That's huge.
Yeah, you can make the first 4 ranks in 3 months if you're pushing it, and then the next rank is 4 months, and the next 2 ranks are 6 months each. So it takes 2 years basically to finish the program.
And that's in a troop that
That's
is
pushing
everybody to get Eagle Scout as quickly as possible.
which we do not. But we do have a young lady in Northwest Arkansas who made it into that first 1,000 girls. And then the oldest girl in our unit made hers 2.5 weeks later.
It took me 7 years to get Eagle Scout, but hey, it's the same thing.
Well,
You did it.
My son started at an 11-year-old and he earned his Eagle Scout, 17.
Yeah, my committee review was actually after I turned 18.
Yep.
So I just barely made it, but I made it, and I'm glad I did. Yep.
Wonderful. All right. Well, I think we're going to wrap it up for today. Katherine, thank you so much for coming on to the program.
Thank you for having me.
I plan to have you on more regularly so that we can put more focus on what's going on at NWA.Space. So,
And for those of you who have an interest in an area of expertise or at least skill, we welcome content. And Pekka, there's probably something you can write about. Some science or some, just your journey. A journey into astronomy in Sweden. That's hunky dory. That'd be wonderful. That'd be wonderful. We'll take any content because content, as we all know, is king.
yeah.
And good content is rich.
Great. Okay. Well, you guys, everybody, thank you in the audience for hanging out with us this afternoon. And we will see you tomorrow. And I think we're going to see Jerry Hubble come back on after his hiatus from being a little bit under the weather. So maybe he'll open up about that. Until then, hopefully you get some clear skies. We're not going to have them tonight, but that's the way that goes. We did install a weather system that you can see up on top of our building, and it's one of our new professional weather stations that's up there. I put a Facebook posting up that shows a little video of the thing working, but there's a link on the page that you can actually see live weather coming down from. It's on the Wonderground platform. So,
Where's that on the page, Scott? I'm on the 5-in-1 now.
All right, look at the description, not the features.
Oh, it's okay. There we go.
Yeah, share the page if you want.
Awesome. What's the weather going to be like Monday night?
It's telling you what the weather's like right now. This minute.
So here's the page.
That's the page. Okay. Now, do you see the highlighted text right there? It says weather.
So here it is spinning madly in the wind.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
because it was windy today.
Yeah, we had a thunderstorm this morning, so it was the first time for it to experience a thunderstorm. But this is the Weather Underground page for the Explore Scientific weather station. That's all live data coming down from that.
Yep. So we're having.
Up there.
So look at all these other weather stations that are out there.
They're all
Interesting.
They're all over the United States. It's really cool.
Yeah. 15.6 mile an hour gusts. How much rain? A third of an inch of rain. So it was a pretty good shower. We had walked across the street to the Cracker Barrel to have lunch. Not across the street, across the parking lot. And we were looking at the radar going, okay, we better leave. We got about 5 minutes before it comes down. And yes, indeed, it did come down. This is pretty cool.
Yeah, it is cool. It is cool. We're going to have to hook up a remote.
I was about to say, now you need a webcam.
That's exactly.
Maybe an all sky cam or something. So we're going to think about
that. An all sky cam would be pretty cool. Looking for meteors.
Yep, that's true.
Yep.
Very cool. All righty. You guys take care, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
What's up for April? Morning planets, a sunset arch, and finding Leo the lion. The morning sky on April 6th finds Jupiter and Saturn forming a lovely trio with the crescent moon. Look for them low in the southeast in the hour before sunrise. April 22nd is Earth Day, an annual opportunity to collectively appreciate the wonder and beauty of our home planet. So it seems appropriate to feature an Earth-related sight you can see any time of the year when you have clear skies. It's a twilight phenomenon that you might have noticed just after sunset. If you can pull your gaze away from the sunset in the west and spin yourself around to face east, you'll often notice a band of pink or orange-colored sky with a darker bluish band underneath. These bands move upward over the minutes following sunset to form an arch across the sky that slowly fades as night sets in. The dark band is Earth's shadow rising. Above it, the rosy-hued band is known as the Belt of Venus. We observe this sight for a short time after sunset when the sun is just below the horizon, but some of its light rays are still making their way through the atmosphere before nightfall. The redder or longer wavelengths of sunlight are able to travel the longest distance through the atmosphere, and at the point opposite to the sunset, this reddish light is scattered off the atmosphere and back toward your eyes. The Belt of Venus is named not for the planet, but for the mythical goddess. Together with Earth's shadow, these sights form the anti-twilight arch. This arch rises like a curtain on the night, slowly fading as Earth's shadow eventually fills the sky, allowing us to gaze outward into the stars. You can see this sight in morning twilight as well by looking in the direction opposite the rising sun, that is, toward the west. As the sky begins to lighten, Earth's shadow becomes noticeable with the Belt of Venus above it, and these bands slowly sink to the horizon as day breaks. April is a great time to look for Leo. That is the constellation Leo. Leo is the Latin word for lion, and this well-known grouping of stars is named for a superpowered lion vanquished by the mythical hero Hercules. It's a pretty easy constellation to locate because it sort of looks like a lion reclining in the sky and has this recognizable curving shape called the sickle that represents the lion's head. In April, you can find Leo high overhead in the south in the first few hours after sunset. In addition to the sickle shape of the lion's head, look for the lion's heart, the brilliant bluish-white star Regulus, which is one of the brightest stars in the sky. Astronomers think most stars have a family of planets orbiting them, and these two bright stars in Leo named Algeba, which is actually a double star, and Rassilus each have a confirmed planet larger than Jupiter orbiting around them. So step out after dark in April to look for Leo with its sickle-shaped lion's mane and blazing bluish heart. Here are the phases of the moon for April. You can catch up on all of NASA's missions to explore the solar system and beyond at nasa.gov. I'm Preston Dykes from NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, and that's what's up for this month.